Good morning and welcome to Retirement Tax Matters. I'm Adam Reed. This is Garrett Crawford, our CFP. How you doing this morning, Garrett?
I'm back for another holiday. One last holiday for 2025.
The season 1 finale. And I think we're up to almost 20 episodes. We almost made it about half a year and relatively consistent. Missed a couple here and there with different things. I had to go and birth a baby and, there was a sickness in there and maybe Thanksgiving. But other than that, we were pretty consistent and it's been a lot of fun. It's been educational for me and I'm sure for a lot of people following along. It's been awesome, I think.
Yeah, I've really grown to love and appreciate what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And, I hope we're helping people and I hope it's a good thing. But even if we're not, I'm having fun doing this. And so we're gonna keep doing this. Maybe we should release this like at 11:55 on New Year's Eve. So as people are, counting the ball drop down in East Tennessee, at midnight you can turn this on. And
there comes the Retirement Tax Matters, guys. To ring in the new year.
Yeah. We joked about taking out an ad in Times Square, but we said maybe not season 1. That might be a little.
Yeah, maybe the ROI I don't think makes a lot of sense for us. So maybe next year. Maybe next year.
2025 has been great. We loved it.
So New Year's probably on everybody's mind. Either you've been talking with your friends, you're at the gym, you're at church, and they're doing sermons about it. Everybody it seems to be talking about and capitalizing on the idea that the New Year's brings New Year's resolutions. If you've ever heard somebody talk about it, the stats are hilarious. Like 90% of people, like 30 days in, have already given up. And so, do some research on your own with some of those things. But humans commit to things really quickly, and we also give up on things pretty quickly as well. And so,
the human experience.
Exactly, the human experience. So we wanted to kind of offer up some ideas that maybe would be things to be mindful of and things that you could be working with your financial advisor on, or if you're DIY or work with us on. And kind of almost see us as your personal trainers, kicking off January of 2026, and some things that might be helpful to think about as you make New Year's financial resolutions. And so I think weight loss is like the number one thing every year for all of time for New Year's resolutions, even going back thousands of years ago. Everybody's like, I want to lose a few pounds. And so we kind of are making a play on this with how to eliminate some tax drag or how to reduce tax drag. Maybe your taxes are getting a little heavy around the belt. And so what can we do to kind of put our tax burden on a diet heading into 2026? And so, Garrett, what are some things that we can do for people's portfolios, or how can people position themselves well heading into the new year, knowing that, hey, one of our goals might be to run a little leaner and meaner in the tax department?
Yeah. So I really like this idea of tax drag. I've read about it for years. For a lot of people tuning in, they don't necessarily resonate with the term tax drag. They don't even know what that means, and probably never heard it before. But it's the technical term to what you alluded to. It's just kind of this extra inefficient mass that you're pulling with your investments. And if I had to start way back at the beginning, maybe one good example of this would be like, just think about your traditional IRA that you've been, dutifully saving into your entire working career. And, all that money in your traditional IRA is not yours. You haven't paid tax on it. You've deferred those taxes into the future. And that's actually a really good thing. It can be tax efficient and be better than a normal, just taxable brokerage investment account. But there comes a day when you pull money out of the traditional IRA and you've got to pay those taxes, and you just realize that what you thought was all your money, a good portion of it can belong to somebody else. But I think specifically a lot of the topics, and we're not going to go too deep today, it's just more of a precursory kind of New Year's Eve talk, but tuning in, I think, to our podcast in 2026, we're going to be hitting on a lot of different ways that, like, the niche, the person that Adam and I think about as we're putting together these conversations. Like, maybe you're 5 or 10 years away from retirement. Maybe you recently entered retirement, but you might have saved really, really well throughout your working years. Maybe you had an inheritance or something. But we think about that person that's between $2 million and $8 million. And there can be a litany and assortment of tax planning strategies that you need to be aware of, that maybe some of your peers that don't have quite as much money, they haven't saved as much, they don't talk about. And just even today, as I was preparing for podcast, and I was preparing kind of some planning for the upcoming year, making sure that, like, a lot of retirees will have like these taxable brokerage and investment accounts where you have to pay long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains, and if you don't pay attention to that, it can actually act like almost like an investment management expense ratio on those funds, where you're inefficiently investing funds. You're paying taxes probably when you shouldn't have. Maybe you did a big Roth conversion. It's going to trigger the net investment income tax. But I think that, like, one easy one that I would highlight today, a way that you can reduce that tax weight that you'll be carrying into the new year, is something called asset location. And that is where you hold the right type of investments in the right type of account. And so, like bond, fixed income ETFs, whenever you earn interest or an ordinary dividend from one of those funds, you have to pay your ordinary income tax rate. And so I've just been working through quite a few clients this fall, this December, and we're just paying attention to the money that they have. And if they're okay with a balanced risk tolerance and they have a Roth account and a traditional IRA, maybe we're putting more of the growth stocks in the Roth IRA, where that tax-free investment account is allowed to grow without any more taxes being due. And then but if we put all the growth stock in the Roth, we have to figure out where to put the fixed income that is kicking off ordinary income and interest. And a lot of times a traditional IRA is a great way to do that. And so if you stick your bonds inside of a brokerage account and you get hit with a tax bill on that interest every year, it can just be inefficient. And so I'm not, we talk about diets. We're not talking about like deprivation diets here, where it's like a negative thing to your health. Instead, it's just like being smart with the things that you eat. And, nobody wants empty calories. We're okay with, eating good, healthy food because it will sustain us. But are you doing anything with your finances, your investments that, probably not a bad thing, but maybe you could do a little bit better? I think that asset location is a big thing for a lot of people that I'm seeing this year and probably into next year too.
No, absolutely. So I think really the two takeaways from this episode are, one, we've got a free resource. I think, like Garrett said, maybe a lot of you are either a few years out from retirement, or maybe you're just retired, or hey, maybe 2026 is the year. I've got a client who just turned in his 2 weeks a couple of days ago, and so I've got an email plan to send him on the first, and you're a free man, all this stuff, and we're going to kind of celebrate together. But one thing to do is check out our website. We've got a free resource, kind of a 6-point checklist for people that are either retiring, into retirement, and I think that'd be a great place to start. And then I think secondly, on top of that, is each week we release podcast episodes Wednesday at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. And just check those out. Every week's not going to be pertinent to you. Maybe like, oh, hey, that's a few years off. QCDs, maybe I just retired. QCDs are 5 or 6 years away. I'll circle back to that one. But just check out the title, see if it's pertinent to you. And if something piques your interest, give it a like, give it a listen, follow us along, subscribe, all the stuff, and just kind of hang out with us this year. And like I said, view us as your trainers. Garrett will get in your face and yell at you, and then I'll kind of hold you and encourage you. And so we'll play a little good cop, bad cop in the weight room with you this year.
Yeah, and so I just think we're going. I would say fittingly this episode concludes our season 1, if that's a thing. And as I just look into the upcoming year, I think our goal is really going to be to put out these podcast conversations on a weekly basis. And we're not robots. We have vacations and other things, and we might miss a couple here and there. But I just really look forward to going deeper. We've kind of started with some umbrella terms. I'd encourage you, if you are just recently tuning into us and maybe just heard, go to our website. There's a button at the top that says episodes, and there's like find your topics. And if you look through there, we're categorizing all these episodes in this on these 12 categories. Just find a category that appeals to you, and you're going to be able to keep track of these conversations that we have and some resources that we're building for that. But at least, I read a lot on the internet, but I don't see too many people that are doing what we're doing, which is highlighting the need for tax return driven financial planning for this kind of high net worth retiree group. A lot of times they give out boilerplate things, and they're just not going as deep. So I think this upcoming year we're going to go deeper and better and get a little bit better doing it. And I've got high hopes for 2026.
Yep. So from us here at Providence Retirement Tax Matters, have a happy new year. Enjoy it. Celebrate. Looking forward to 2026 alongside you all. And we appreciate it. So I'm Adam Reed.
I'm Garrett Crawford. I was thinking maybe we could add like a little ball up here on our thumbnail for 2026.
Confetti everywhere.
We'll see. No promises, but we'll see what we can do.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Best wishes to you and your family. We'll see you season 2, 2026.
Absolutely. Sure. This is Retirement Tax Matters. See y'all.
Thanks so much for listening to Retirement Tax Matters. As always, the ideas we share here are for educational purposes, and we do our best to get it right, but this isn't a substitute for specific tax or financial advice, because a truly effective strategy is always built around your personal situation. For more resources and to see our full disclosure, visit us at retirementtaxmatters.com.